Welcome back. You're watching Credlin. During the 2014 Victorian state election, the Labor Party, led then by the opposition leader Daniel Andrews, used hundreds of thousands of your money to pay parliamentary staff to work as Labor campaign operatives. It became known as the red shirt scandal because that's the shirts they were wearing when they were out campaigning. More than 20 Labor MPs were involved, including senior ministers Martin Pakula and Lily D'Ambrosio. 2 investigations were held, one by the Victorian Ombudsman and one by Victoria Police, yet no charges were laid. Even though the Andrews government tried to stop the Ombudsman investigation going ahead at a cost to taxpayers of another $500,000. Today, Victoria Police confirmed it will not reopen an investigation into red shirts, despite bombshell evidence from former Andrews government minister Adam Somyurek about the Premier's knowledge of the rort. For his reaction, I'm joined now by the Shadow Minister for Police and Emergency Services, Victorian Liberal MP Brad Batten, a former police officer himself. Now, I have to say, we're on the eve of the GP, the Grand Prix down here in Melbourne. Am I surprised? This seems to be at the timing that Victoria Police puts out its press release. Let's say they picked a good day to bury it if that's their intention. But how is it that a police investigation goes away because elected officials say we're not going to cooperate? If that was the case, everyone would just not cooperate with the police. How does it work?
Yeah, and I think you've highlighted it there, Peter, that the fact is the people who expect the Premier to go and cooperate with this, because that's what he said to the media. He said he would deal with this. And I would actually expect Victoria Police also to follow that up. It's quite interesting, they've said with the letter that they sent today, there was no further evidence to come forward. And we all know there was so much put forward in IBAC under oath that they can use. So that evidence is available. But we had one of the original informants contact our office today, and no one has contacted him since October 2019. So if the government and the police are saying that this has been investigated, we have to then review who has been asked and what investigations been put forward again this time. I say in the past, as I said, as a former police officer, when someone doesn't cooperate, we would actually go and arrest them and bring them in, do the formal interview, because everyone deserves that information and that evidence put to them, so they have a right to reply. I'm not saying go and arrest the Premier, and I think that was probably one position I'm not going to put right now. But however, a minister or people within those offices who know of evidence, have had evidence put against them, why haven't they been arrested? Why aren't they brought in to actually face the challenges of the questions that are put to them and ensure they answer? Victorians deserve to know. It's starting just to get to a stage now, it just looks like cover-up after cover-up.
So the lawyer in me asks these questions, right? With the Coate inquiry, I filmed in my documentary a person or a company that had run one of those hot hotels, the Ridges Hotel, private security company. The bloke that ran the company put in, as he was asked to by the Coate inquiry, a 500-page submission prepared by a QC, Jack Rush. That submission was never made public. I know it was received by the Coate inquiry, and he was never asked to give evidence, and though he kept offering to give evidence, not called to give evidence. We know Adam Somyurek, he said to me in an interview on camera, I'll tell them whatever they know. I know it'll implicate myself, but I want to be upfront and have integrity. He said a whole lot under oath. Surely there's material there. Why are these things made to go away?
And I'd even say with Adam as well, why don't they bring Adam in? They're saying that Adam didn't want to cooperate now.
He wants to now. He said so on camera.
He said on camera here, and the police have said he does, that will implicate them and cause them more issues than what's happening to them here in the state.
Talk to me about IBAC. Significant development today. They have confirmed there is now a second probe related to the Firefighters Union. Alleged leaking of information, Andrews government pay deal. What do you make of this? Yeah,
we've been following this for a long period of time. I've had the emergency service since the last term as well in Shadow Minister's role. And I have to say I was interested to see the Operation Richmond, which is the original one, came out. And we know that they've always got letters now that they can speak up. So anyone that's been involved in that can now speak publicly. Why aren't they? Everyone's obviously gone very, very quiet. That's a big concern. Now, I understand, and I haven't seen, but there's a draft report out there now, so some people are aware of that. But then to find there's a second investigation into leaking, into information that involves the United Firefighters Union, dealings between United Firefighters Union management. And I'm going to specifically say more so Peter Marshall and dealing with the government. Because I think if you speak to many firefighters now, they're even getting frustrated with the fact of the dealings between Peter Marshall and government. They want to know what the power hold is there. Yes, they appreciate they get their pay, they appreciate their conditions, but they also know that if it's starting to get to a stage that it tarnishes all firefighters and the opinion of firefighters for corruption across the state, that's a really bad thing. We have to rebuild that confidence within our fire services. My view, the best way to do that is actually for Peter Marshall to step down and go through the process they need to, rather than working with the government to hide everything they've got. This investigation, if they've got the same conditions as Operation Richmond, it's time people start speaking out and letting the community know what's been happening in the fire services and the dealings directly between the Premier's office and the United Firefighters Union. That is corruption if it's anything to do with their EBAs.
And of course, the relationship of this issue is absolutely on the pay front. Victorians pay their wages, but also the merger of the Victorian, or the Metropolitan Fire Brigade, and the CFA is something that's concerned a lot of Victorians. There's concern about the interoperability of the new model, the access to promised equipment. There's been a significant fall off in the volunteers and the old CFA. That's also wrapped up in this.
Yeah, the whole lot. But it's not, and I'd say this, but it's not a real merger. It was a political spin merger. They're still currently operating. CFA and former MFB still work on separate EBAs. They've got a Division A and Division B. Vermont and Boronia are stations very close to each other. If Vermont's got an extra staff member available on a shift and Boronia is short one staff, that staff member can't go across because they're in different divisions. So what it was supposed to fix, it hasn't fixed. So before they can get the person from Vermont, they can get someone from overtime from Warrnambool. Now, this is not a system that's working. This is a system that's failing. And they are inside talking to me more and more around the facts they've got issues they can't fix. If it's supposed to be one service, make it one service. If they're going to have a real, true volunteer sector, do what we've promised. Give the chief the power not to have seconded people from the Marshals Union, actually let them employ their own people who can run the fire services as volunteers. We're running out of volunteers. We're getting less and less. They are the best people in Victoria. If we lose too many and we have a fire season like Black Saturday, so help me God, it's going to be so much worse than we've ever had in this state. And I am genuinely worried. It's not one of your political worries. I'm genuinely worried. I'm near the Dandenong Ranges. If a fire goes through there and we haven't got the volunteers, it will wipe it out.
I give you credit, Brad Batten. I'm a hard marker. You're across your brief. Not a lot of shadow ministers are. You are across your brief.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Peter.
All right. We'll go into some other issues. On Sunday, France goes to the